You felt it again last night, didn't you? That moment scrolling through your phone at 2 a.m., watching some demo video of an AI, writing in seconds what would have taken you 3 hours of focused, skilled work, and something cold settled in your chest. Not curiosity, not excitement, fear. The kind of fear that doesn't announce itself loudly. It just sits there, quiet, in the back of your throat every morning when you open your laptop. You tell yourself you're being paranoid. You tell yourself you're irreplaceable, that 20 years of experience means something, that they need you. But somewhere underneath the bravado, a question keeps surfacing, one you haven't said out loud to anyone, not your spouse, not your closest friend, maybe not even yourself, until right now. What happens to me if the machine doesn't need me anymore? Stay with me, because in the next 15 minutes, I am not going to lie to you about the world we live in, but I am going to show you something the algorithm cannot replicate, no matter how many parameters it trains on. Something inside you that no update, no model, no version 2.0 will ever touch. It probably started with one video, one demonstration that crossed your feed at the worst possible time, when you were already tired, already stretched thin. You watched the screen. You watched the cursor type faster than any human ever could. You watched a task that represents your entire professional identity get completed in under a minute, and you felt something shift in your stomach. The kind of shift you feel in turbulence, when the plane drops and your body knows before your mind catches up. You closed the laptop. You told yourself it was just a demo, just marketing, just hype. But that night, you didn't sleep the way you used to. You lay there running numbers in your head, mortgage, kids' school, the years left until retirement that suddenly don't feel guaranteed anymore. This is where so many men in America are standing right now, not in crisis yet, not unemployed yet, just standing at the edge of a cliff they didn't see coming, watching the ground shift beneath careers that took decades to build. You are not crazy for feeling this, you are paying attention. Here is the lie, and I need you to hear it clearly. Somewhere along the way, you were taught that your value as a man is measured by your output, by your title, by the line on your resume that says what you produce, how fast, how efficiently. Corporate America trained you to believe you are a function, an input that generates an output, and if a machine can generate that output faster, cheaper, without sick days or salary demands, then logically, mathematically, you become obsolete. But listen to me, that equation is broken. It was always broken, because you were never just a function. You were never just an input-output machine, wearing a name badge. You are the man who noticed when your co-worker's kid was sick and covered her shift. Without being asked, you are the one who caught the mistake in the report that would have cost the company millions, not because an algorithm told you to check, but because something in your gut said look again. That instinct, that judgment forged through years of lived experience, failure, and recovery. No machine has lived your life. No machine has buried a parent, raised a child, recovered from a divorce, and come back to work the next Monday anyway. That is not replaceable. That was never the thing they were going to automate. Think about your father, or his father before him. Men who watched entire industries vanish beneath their feet. Factories closed. Farms sold, steel mills shuttered, leaving towns hollowed out across the heartland of this country. And yet, America kept moving forward. Not because the machines stopped coming. They never stop coming. Each generation faces its own version of this exact terror you're feeling right now. The assembly line, the personal computer, the internet. Each wave of change arrived with the same panic, the same 2 a.m. dread, the same question. What happens to me now? And every single time, the men who survived weren't the ones who outcompeted the machine at its own game. They were the ones who got curious instead of paralyzed, the ones who asked, what can I do that this new tool cannot? And how do I use this tool instead of fearing it? You come from people who adapted under far worse conditions than a software update. You come from people who rebuilt after the Depression, after wars, after losing everything more than once. That resilience isn't a story in a history book. It is encoded in you. It is your inheritance, and it is far more powerful than anything trained on a dataset. Here's what nobody tells you about fear. It is not a stop sign. It is a compass. It points directly at what matters most to you. You are not afraid of AI. You are afraid of becoming invisible, of being told, after decades of showing up, that you no longer matter. But that fear, the one keeping you up at night, is actually proof of how much you still have left to give. Men who have truly given up don't feel this kind of dread. They've gone numb. The fact that this terrifies you means some part of you is still fighting, still refusing to lie down and accept a future written by someone else's prediction model. So stop treating this fear like an enemy to silence. Start treating it like fuel. Every great transformation in your life so far, the job you took a leap on, the relationship you fought to save, the moment you got back up after rock bottom, started with exactly this feeling: discomfort before growth, chaos before clarity. You have done this before, even if you don't remember it that way, and you are about to do it again. Let's talk about what you actually built over these years, because you've been so focused on what you might lose that you've forgotten to count what cannot be taken. You built judgment, not the kind that comes from a training set, but the kind forged in rooms where you had to make a hard call with incomplete information and live with the consequences. You built trust, the kind that takes a decade of showing up, keeping your word, and being the person people call when everything falls apart. You built the ability to read a room, to sense when your team is burning out before they say a word, to know when to push and when to listen. These are not soft skills. These are the hardest skills there are, because they cannot be downloaded. They have to be lived. The machine can predict the next word in a sentence. It cannot sit across from a grieving colleague and know exactly when to stay silent. It cannot mentor a nervous 20-to-year-old through their first failure with the patience of someone who remembers their own. It cannot look a frightened client in the eye and make them believe, truly believe, that everything is going to be all right, because it has never feared anything in its life. You have feared. You have survived. That is your edge. Somewhere in your career, you learned to wait. Wait for the promotion. Wait for the right moment. Wait for someone above you to tell you that you're ready, that you're enough, that it's your turn. That waiting is the real threat here, not the machine. The machine doesn't ask permission to evolve. It updates itself the moment new information arrives. And you, the man who has more wisdom in 1 decade of lived experience than any model has in 1,000 training runs, you're still sitting there waiting for an email from HR confirming your worth. Tonight, that ends. Not with a reckless decision, not by quitting your job tomorrow morning in some dramatic gesture, but by quietly, deliberately deciding that your value is not something a company assigns to you. It is something you already carry. The tools changing around you are not verdicts on your worth. They are simply new instruments in a workshop you already know how to run. If you choose to pick them up instead of running from them, you do not need permission to start learning. You do not need permission to start adapting. You never did. Here is the reframe that changes everything. The same technology you've been losing sleep over is not a blade aimed at your throat. It is a tool sitting on the table in front of you, waiting for someone with your exact experience to pick it up and wield it with judgment. A younger, less experienced person simply doesn't have yet. Think about it. A hammer in the wrong hands builds nothing. In the hands of a master craftsman, it builds a home that shelters a family for generations. The technology terrifying you right now is just a hammer. And you, with your decades of pattern recognition, your battle-tested instincts, your understanding of what actually matters to real human beings, you are exactly the kind of craftsman this new era needs. The people who will struggle most in the coming years are not the experienced ones willing to adapt. They are the ones, young or old, who refuse to pick up the new tool at all, who stand frozen, arms crossed, insisting the old way was sacred. You did not survive this long in your career by refusing to evolve. You survived by adapting, quietly, again and again. Every single time the ground shifted. This is just one more shift, and you already know how to do this. One day, your children, or the younger people watching how you carry yourself through this moment, will remember exactly one thing: not whether you predicted every shift in the economy perfectly, not whether you became an overnight expert in technology that didn't exist when you started your career. They will remember whether you stood up or whether you laid down. They will remember if you let fear convince you that your story was over at 50, or whether you showed them through your own actions that a setback is not a sentence, that reinvention is possible at any age, in any decade, in any economy, that the measure of a man is not how comfortable his path was, but how he responded when the path disappeared beneath his feet. This is the legacy moment, not some distant, abstract idea of legacy involving inheritance or property. This is it, right now, in how you choose to face this exact fear keeping you up at 2 a.m. Your children are watching, even when you think they aren't. And what they learn about resilience, they will learn first from watching you. Make it a lesson worth learning. This is the part of the story where most motivational messages tell you everything will simply work out. I won't insult you with that. Some things will end. Some roles will disappear. Some industries will look completely different in 5 years than they do today. But here is what will not end: the demand for human beings who can think critically under pressure, who can lead other humans through uncertainty, who can build trust in a world drowning in automation and starving for authenticity. The companies and the careers that survive this transition will be led by exactly the kind of person you already are, someone who has lived through hardship and came out the other side wiser, not bitter. So tonight, instead of scrolling through one more demo video that makes your stomach drop, do something different. Write down 3 skills you have that took real years to build, things no machine learned in a weekend of training. Then write down one small step, just one, toward learning the new tools sitting in front of you. That's it. That's the whole plan. Not a complete reinvention overnight. Just one honest list and one small step, taken by a man who refuses to disappear quietly. Let that sink all the way in. The machine was never going to need you. It doesn't need anyone. It doesn't grieve. It doesn't hope. It doesn't lie awake worrying about its children's future or fight to become a better version of itself out of love rather than code. You were never in competition with it. You were only ever in competition with the version of yourself who almost gave up. So stand up tomorrow morning, not as a man bracing for replacement, but as a man who understands that experience, character, and resilience were never things a machine could replicate, only things you could abandon. Don't abandon them now, not after everything you've already survived to get here. This message, this exact moment of clarity you're feeling right now, was brought to you by Ronnie Stark, because some truths are too important to stay silent at 2 a.m. Carry this with you. The machine doesn't need you, but the world still does. Now go prove it. Maybe the future will look nothing like we imagined. Maybe the jobs will change. Maybe the tools will change. Maybe the world will keep changing faster than we can keep up. But as long as you keep learning, as long as you keep showing up, and as long as you refuse to let fear decide who you become, you'll be just fine. If this story stayed with you, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with someone who needs a little hope today. I'm Ronnie Stark. Thanks for spending these few minutes with me. I'll see you again soon.